Once upon a time, in a quiet little town in America, there was a small bakery. It was on the corner of the main street. Every morning, a sweet smell came from the shop. The smell was warm and soft. It came from the fresh bread and cakes. People walking down the street stopped for a moment. They took a deep breath and smiled. The smell made them feel happy even before they ate anything. Inside the bakery worked a man called the baker. He made the best bread in the town. His bread was soft, his cakes were sweet, and everything he made looked perfect. People came from different parts of the town just to buy his food. His shop was small, but it was famous because of the smell and the taste of his bread. But the baker was not a kind man. He worked hard, but he never smiled. He never gave extra food to anyone. He only gave people what they paid for. He always looked serious. He didn't like to talk to people. He believed everything must have a price. For him, nothing in life was free. One thing made the baker very angry. He hated it when poor people stood outside his shop and smelled the bread without buying anything. He believed they were stealing from him. "They are filling their stomachs with my bread smell," he said. "They are eating without paying. That is not fair." One cold winter morning, the baker was working early. The sky was still dark. Snow was falling outside. It was cold, but inside the bakery, the oven was hot. The baker was making fresh bread. He was not happy. He was tired and cold. He talked to himself while he worked. "Why must I wake up so early? Why is the snow so heavy? Why do people stand outside and take my bread smell for free?" At that moment, he looked at the window and saw someone standing there. It was a young man. He was wearing an old coat. His shoes were wet. His face looked cold and hungry. But he was smiling. He was not talking. He was not trying to come inside. He was just standing there, closing his eyes, and enjoying the smell of fresh bread. The baker became angry. He looked at the young man and said, "He is stealing from me. He is eating my bread with his nose. He is getting a free breakfast, and I get nothing." The young man opened his eyes. He smiled again at the baker. It was a small, peaceful smile, but it made the baker even more upset. "This must stop," the baker thought. "He cannot enjoy my bread for free." The baker walked to the door. He opened it quickly. The cold wind came in. He looked at the young man and shouted, "You! Yes, you! Pay me!" The young man was surprised. "Pay you? But I did not take anything." "You took the smell of my bread," said the baker. "You were outside enjoying it. That is not free." "I only smelled the air," said the young man. "Air is free." "I did not take your bread." The baker shook his head. "No. When the air has the smell of my bread, it is not free. You must pay me now, or I will take you to the judge." The young man looked sad. "Sir, I have no money. I am just cold and hungry." The baker did not care. He walked forward and grabbed the young man by the sleeve of his coat. He pulled him through the snow. The young man did not fight. He followed quietly. He was cold and weak. Together, they walked down the snowy street. No one stopped them. Some people looked from their windows. Some just turned away. The baker was angry. The young man was silent. They were going to see the judge. The baker wanted justice. He wanted to be paid for the smell of bread. It was still early in the morning. The snow was falling quietly in the little town. Most people were still asleep. But the baker was not sleeping. He was walking through the snow, pulling the young man behind him. The young man said nothing. He was cold and tired. He didn't understand why this was happening. He only smelled the bread. He didn't take anything. But now he was being taken to the judge. They stopped at a small house at the end of the street. The baker knocked loudly on the door. After a few moments, the door opened slowly. A man with white hair and sleepy eyes looked out. He was wearing a long robe and soft slippers. This man was the judge. The judge looked at the two men standing in the snow. He was surprised to see them so early. He rubbed his eyes and said, "Why are you here so early in the morning?" The baker stepped forward quickly. He was angry and loud. "This man is a thief," the baker said. "He stole the smell of my bread." The judge looked confused. "The smell of your bread?" he asked. "Yes," said the baker. "He stood outside my shop. He didn't buy anything, but he took in the smell. He filled his stomach with it. That's not fair. He must pay me." The judge looked at the young man. The young man was silent. His eyes were tired. His coat was old. His hands were red from the cold. He looked like he had not eaten in days. The judge sighed. "Come inside," he said. "Let me get dressed first. Then you can tell me the full story." The judge went inside and closed the door. A few minutes later he came back, now fully dressed. He led them into a warm room. There was a big wooden table and 3 chairs. The judge sat down and asked the 2 men to sit as well. "Now," the judge said, "tell me everything." The baker spoke first. He told the whole story. He said how he worked hard every day. He said his bread was the best in town. He talked about how the smell brought people to his shop. But he said it was not fair that poor people could enjoy the smell without paying. He said the young man had stolen from him and must be punished. The judge listened carefully. He nodded but said nothing. Then the young man spoke. His voice was soft and quiet. "I was just walking," he said. "I had no food. I had no money. I only stood outside for a moment. I smelled the bread. That's all. I didn't go inside. I didn't touch anything. I only smelled the air." The room was silent for a while. The judge looked down at the table. Then he looked at the young man and asked, "Do you have any money?" The young man slowly reached into his pocket. He pulled out a few small coins. "This is all I have," he said. The judge reached out his hand. "Give them to me," he said. The young man gave the coins to the judge. The judge held the coins in his palm. Then he began to shake them gently. The coins made a soft sound, clink, clink, clink. The sound filled the quiet room. The judge looked at the baker and said, "There, did you hear that?" The baker looked confused. "Yes, I heard it," he said. The judge smiled slightly. "Good," he said. "That was the sound of money. It is a fair payment for the smell of bread." The baker stood up. "But I want the real money. I want to keep the coins." The judge shook his head. "No," he said. "You asked to be paid for something invisible, the smell of your bread. So, I have given you something else that is also invisible, the sound of coins. This is fair." The baker's face turned red. He had no words. He could not argue. The judge then turned to the young man. He gave the coins back to him and said, "You are free to go." The young man looked surprised. He stood up slowly. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, but a real one. "Thank you, sir," he said softly. He walked out of the house and into the snow. His steps were slow, but he felt a little warmer inside. The baker stayed behind, still quiet, still thinking. The judge sat in his chair, looking out the window. The snow was still falling. But now the world seemed a little more fair. The young man walked away from the judge's house. The snow was still falling gently. The morning was cold, but his heart felt warm. He smiled to himself. He had no bread, and he still had very little money, but he felt happy. Someone had listened to him. Someone had been fair. That feeling was better than any meal. The judge stayed at his table, looking out the window. He didn't say much, but inside he felt proud of his decision. He didn't punish anyone. He didn't shout. He had used wisdom and kindness. He knew that the best lessons in life are not always about money or rules. Sometimes they are about understanding people and their feelings. The baker walked back to his shop. His steps were slower now. He didn't feel angry anymore. He thought about the judge's words. He remembered the sound of the coins. It was just a small sound, but it made a big point. He looked around as he walked. He saw people walking to work, children playing in the snow, and some people just sitting on benches and watching the world. When he reached his bakery, he stood outside for a moment. He looked at the window where the young man had stood. For the first time he saw it differently. He didn't see a thief. He saw a hungry boy who smiled at the smell of bread. That smile had no price. It was not stealing, it was human. The baker unlocked his shop and went inside. The oven was still warm. The smell of bread was strong. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. For the first time, he let himself enjoy it. This story teaches us something important. Not everything in life can be bought. Some things are free, but they are still very valuable. The smell of bread, the sound of coins, a smile from a stranger, these are simple things, but they can touch our hearts. The baker used to believe that nothing was free. He thought that if something made people feel good, they should pay for it. But he learned that joy is not something you can lock in a box or sell in a shop. Joy is like a smell or a song. It moves through the air. It touches people in different ways. The young man had nothing in his hands, but he had something in his heart. He could still smile. He could still feel happy just by smelling something beautiful. That kind of happiness is strong. It is a gift. The judge showed us that being fair does not always mean being strict. He found a way to teach the baker a lesson without hurting him. He used the sound of coins to answer the smell of bread. That was smart. That was kind. That was justice with a gentle heart. If you are learning English now, maybe this story can help you in more ways than one. Learning a language is like this story. At first, you don't have much. You only hear the sounds. You smell the beauty of the words, but maybe you don't understand everything. That's okay. You are still enjoying it. You are still learning. You don't need to know every word to feel the power of English. You just need to keep listening, keep smiling, and keep trying. Like the young man, enjoy the simple things. Enjoy the rhythm of a sentence. Enjoy the soft sound of new words. These small joys are not small at all. They are important. And like the judge, try to see the world with open eyes. Listen before you speak. Think before you judge. Sometimes, the best answer is not about punishment. Sometimes, the best answer is understanding. So remember this story when life feels unfair or when learning feels hard. Remember the young man who smiled, the judge who listened, and even the baker who learned to change. We all have something to learn from each other. And most of all, remember this. The best things in life are not always things you can hold. Some of the richest gifts are invisible. They are felt, not seen. They are free, but they are priceless. Like kindness, like hope, like a smile, like the smell of fresh bread in the cold morning air. This was a story about a small town, a baker, a young man, and a wise judge. The baker was a man who worked hard and baked the softest, most delicious bread. But he believed that nothing in life should be free, not even the smell of his bread. He felt angry when poor people stood outside his shop, smiling and enjoying the smell without buying anything. He believed they were stealing something from him. One cold morning, the baker saw a hungry young man standing outside his shop. The boy didn't ask for food. He just stood there, smiling and enjoying the warm smell. This made the baker furious. He grabbed the boy and took him to the judge, asking to be paid for the stolen smell. The judge listened to both sides. He understood the baker's hard work and also the young man's innocence. Then he did something clever. He took the boy's few coins and shook them gently so the baker could hear the sound. The judge said the sound of money was a fair payment for the smell of bread. That way, the baker got what he wanted, but not in the way he expected. This story teaches us a deep lesson. Not everything in life can be owned. Not everything needs a price. Sometimes, the most beautiful things like a smile, a smell, a moment of peace are free, and they should stay free. In today's world, we often forget this. We work hard, we count money, we worry. But we also need to stop, take a breath, and appreciate the simple things. We must be kind like the judge. We must stay open-hearted like the young man. And sometimes, we must learn to let go like the baker. For English learners, this story also reminds us that learning is a journey. At first, you may only smell the language. Please write A or B in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to support us. Your support helps us make more useful content to help you learn English. If you like our stories and want to help us continue, you can also donate to our channel. In the beginning, it's very hard to build something good and free for everyone, but with your help, we can keep going and keep sharing stories that teach both language and life lessons. Thank you so much.